Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today, I'm going to go my review of WWE's Clash in Paris. Starting off the night, man, we got Roman Reigns taking on Bronson Reed. The match itself, man, I thought was a really good match. Back and forth matchup between Reigns and Reed, with Reed keeping the pace of the match. Roman goes for a Superman punch on Reed, but Reed counters it with a choke slam on Roman Reigns. Roman then goes for another Superman punch on Reed, but Reed counters it once again, hitting a Death Valley driver on Roman Reigns. Roman then finally hits a Superman punch on Reed for a near fall. Roman then goes for a spear on Reed, but Reed counters it with a devastating powerbomb on Roman Reigns. Roman then hits another Superman punch, followed by Roman hitting a Samoan drop off the middle rope on Bronson Reed, followed by Roman hitting his signature spear on Reed, pins for the 3. And your winner of the match is Roman Reigns. After the match, you can see Paul Heyman in the ring checking on Reed. Reigns then gets back in the ring after celebrating with the fans. Reigns then was staring down Paul Heyman. Heyman then was begging Roman. Heyman tells Reigns that he acknowledges him. Reigns then chokes out Paul Heyman. Roman then was celebrating ringside, standing on the announce table, celebrating with fans, and then out of nowhere, Braun Breaker hits a spear on Roman, leaving him helpless. Reed then hits a tsunami on Reigns on a stretcher. Jey Uso is here. Jey then attacks Reed and Breaker, but Breaker ends up hitting a spear on Jey Uso while Reigns is getting wheeled out on a stretcher. Some interesting stuff there between Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. Moving on from that, we have a WWE Tag Team title matchup. It is the Wyatt Six defending the WWE Tag Team titles against the Street Profits. The match itself, I thought was a good match. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with the Profits keeping the pace of the match. Ford ends up hitting a blockbuster for a near fall, followed by Nikki attacking Ford. This allowed Uncle Howdy to hit a Sister Abigail on Ford on the outside, and allow the Wyatt Six to hit the finish. Pins for the 3, and your winners of the match, and still WWE Tag Team Champions, are the Wyatt Six. Hats off to the Wyatt Six for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have a Women's Intercontinental Championship matchup. It is Becky Lynch defending the Women's Intercontinental title against Nikki Bella. Now, the match itself, I thought was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Nikki and Becky, with Becky keeping the pace of the match. Becky hits a back exploder on Nikki in the middle of the ring, followed by Nikki and Becky both exchanging in the middle of the ring. Nikki then applies a fearless lock on Becky, but the hold is broken. Nikki then hits a manhandle slam on Becky for a near fall. Nikki then applies a disarmor on Becky, but the hold is broken. After that, Becky's trying to get her balance back up, trying to fight off Nikki Bella from the disarmor, with Becky ultimately hitting a roll-up on Nikki Bella, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match, and still Women's Intercontinental Champion, is Becky Lynch. Hats off to Becky Lynch for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have a Donnybrook match. It is Rusev taking on Sheamus. I thought this was actually a really good match. Back and forth matchup between Rusev and Sheamus, with Rusev and Sheamus both exchanging in the middle of the ring. Rusev then hits Sheamus with a kendo stick, followed by Sheamus hitting Rusev with a kendo stick. Rusev then hits a heel kick, taking out Sheamus in the middle of the ring. Rusev then hits Sheamus with a chair shot, followed by Sheamus hitting a running knee on Rusev for a near fall. Sheamus then gets up, hits Rusev with the shillelagh, followed by Sheamus hitting a Celtic cross on Rusev for a near fall. Rusev then somehow gets up, hits Sheamus with the steel steps, followed by Rusev hitting a chokeslam on Sheamus through the bar. Rusev then applies an accolade on Sheamus, but the hold is broken. Rusev then applies another accolade on Sheamus on the whiskey barrels that were ringside. Sheamus then breaks the hold. Sheamus then hits a white noise off the whiskey barrels through 2 tables on the outside on Rusev. Sheamus then hits a bro kick on Rusev for a near fall. Rusev then hits Sheamus with a shillelagh for a near fall, followed by Rusev applying another accolade on Sheamus using the shillelagh. And your winner of the match due to submission is Rusev. Hats off to Rusev for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have Logan Paul versus John Cena. I thought this was actually a really good match. Back and forth matchup between Paul and Cena, with Logan Paul keeping the pace of the match. Paul hits a blockbuster on Cena for a near fall, followed by John hitting a 5-knuckle shuffle on Logan Paul in the middle of the ring. Logan then hits a buckshot lariat on John Cena, but Cena somehow gets up, hits an AA on Logan Paul for a near fall, followed by John applying an STF. Hold gets broken. Logan then hits a standing moonsault for a near fall. Logan and John then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with John Cena hitting an AA for a near fall on Logan Paul. Cena then hits a Hurricane Rana, followed by Cena hitting a Code Red on Logan Paul for a near fall. Logan then lands a right hand, landing right on the chin of John Cena, pretty much leaving John Cena helpless in the middle of the ring. Logan then hits a frog splash off the top rope for a near fall, followed by a 5-knuckle shuffle of his own, landed by Logan Paul on the John Cena. Cena then gets up, hits a Styles Clash on Logan Paul for a near fall, taking a page out of AJ Styles' book. And then after that, we see John hitting a AA on Logan, followed by another AA on Logan, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is John Cena. Hats off to John Cena for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into the main event of Clash in Paris. It is a fatal 4-way matchup for Seth Rollins' World Heavyweight Championship. It is Seth Rollins defending the World Heavyweight title against Jey Uso, LA Knight, and CM Punk. The match itself, I thought was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Jey, LA Knight, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. Punk and Knight both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Rollins hitting a pedigree for a near fall. Knight then hits an elbow drop for a near fall as well. Knight then hits a BFT on Rollins for a near fall. Punk then hits a GTS on Rollins in the middle of the ring, followed by a masked person getting in the ring. No one knew initially who it was. Attacks CM Punk. And the person that was behind the mask was none other to be revealed as Becky Lynch. Rollins then hits a foot stomp on CM Punk, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match, and still World Heavyweight Champion, is Seth Rollins. Hats off to Seth Rollins for getting the win in this matchup. A couple of things I want to talk about, man, as far as Clash in Paris is concerned before I get the hell up out of here. Number one, I'm not going to sit here and say it was a monumental event. I'm not going to sit here and say that. Obviously, there's a lot of things that have happened at that event. You know, obviously, the elephant in the room is Becky Lynch, and that's something that I definitely want to talk to you guys about today, and where I think this is leaning towards, where I think WWE is going with this, especially with Becky Lynch. Now, initially, a lot of people didn't think that Becky was going to be, slotted in, if you will, into the stable known as Division. But it looks like that's going to be the case. I think Becky is in this stable with Rollins, with Breakker, with Reed, as well as Paul Heyman, all a part of this new Vision stable that's in WWE. Some people that I talked to, they didn't like it. They didn't like it at all because, and for an abundance of reasons. Number one, a lot of people that I talked to, and I've heard things online and everything else, that Becky Lynch is trying to do whatever she can to hold on to the spotlight. And there's belief out there that maybe WWE kind of looked past Becky, where when Becky took the time off to go have a family, a lot of people really weren't getting interested or wondering when we were going to see the quote-unquote man return to WWE. A lot of things have happened in the time frame in WWE since Becky had left and went home and started a family with Rollins. A lot of things, especially in the women's division and the women's atmosphere for WWE, has changed drastically since Becky had left WWE. I mean, we saw new arrivals. We saw, obviously, the TNA partnership with NXT. We saw, new debuts of like Stephanie Vaquer and Julia. A lot of things have happened, in that time frame since Becky's been gone. I mean, hell, even Asuka took some significant time off as well. And I remember Becky, the day that Becky announced that she was going to have, start a family, she told that to Asuka. And I think if I'm not mistaken, she ultimately relinquished the title to Asuka, if I'm not mistaken, when Becky ended up, parting ways a little bit with WWE so she can start her own family. A lot of people are hinting around that Becky is kind of losing the limelight, that, she's trying to hold on to something to stay relevant. A lot of people have said that. People I've talked to, people online, have been saying that there's a lot of things when it pertains to Becky that she's trying to do whatever she can to stay relevant. Do I think she did that at Clash in Paris? If that was the goal that she was shooting for? Absolutely. I think Becky was the main vocal point leaving in ending Clash in Paris, because it had a lot of people, questioning, well, why the hell did she come out and finally help Seth Rollins with this CM Punk issue? This CM Punk issue, I told you guys before, this Punk shit with Rollins is going, no, it's not going anywhere anytime fast. This is starting to build into something that's going to be very monumental if WWE's going to go the way I think they're going to go. And if that's the case, then yeah, I mean, at this point, you had to ask yourself on, outside the fence looking in, is where are these two gentlemen going to go? Where is the storyline going to go? What is going to be the ultimate end here between Rollins and CM Punk? Because at the end of the day, these guys are going to keep going at it until the end of time. Until something catastrophic happens or something monumental enough where these guys won't be able to face off against each other anymore. Maybe a possible draft where, Rollins stays on Raw, Punk goes to Friday Night SmackDown, a loser leaves town match, a 3 Stages of Hell match, which I mentioned a couple months ago when it pertained to Rollins and CM Punk, an Iron Man match. There's a lot of things that you had to start thinking about. Okay, where are these two guys going to be? Where are these guys heading? Is where my mindset is. Now that we have Becky Lynch involved and what she ultimately cost CM Punk the match and cost him another World Heavyweight title opportunity, now a lot of people, myself included, has the mind going and starting to come up with different ideas of, okay, well, now Becky's involved in this shit. Now, how is this going to go? What's CM Punk's rebuttal, with what happened with Becky Lynch getting involved in this matchup, ultimately costing Punk the World Heavyweight title? And to be honest with you, and I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people have already said it, and it's already been, pretty much out there in the, the wrestling space, if you will, that there's been talks backstage within WWE of a possible return of AJ Lee. Now, if you guys don't know who AJ Lee is, she's a former WWE superstar. She's also, I believe, married to CM Punk, a.k.a. Phil Brooks, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of people are hinting on the possible return of an AJ Lee reuniting with CM Punk to take on Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins, possibly taking place at WrestlePalooza September 20th in Indianapolis. To me, this is the way I look at it. I don't think there's anybody right now that would be a suitable option in this storyline right now besides AJ Lee. AJ Lee has to be the person that teams up with Punk to take on Becky and Seth Rollins. I know there's some people saying, oh, it could be Nikki Bella, oh, it could be Rhea Ripley. To be honest with you, I don't see that happening. Rhea right now, and the way things are playing out with Rhea on Monday Night Raw, is it looks like Rhea will have a program or some kind of storyline here with her and Asuka, which I'm not against that. I'm not against that at all. Nikki Bella, I mean, regardless of the fact she lost the match against Becky, Nikki has to climb the ladder back to get an opportunity at Becky Lynch's Intercontinental Championship, to be honest. And Nikki Bella hasn't really had any kind of matches to really grant her a Intercontinental or even a title opportunity at this point. Nikki Bella needs to go in the back of the line. I don't want to see CM Punk teaming up with Nikki Bella to take on Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. This has to be AJ Lee. I mean, at this point, like I said, you had to ask yourself, how are we going to intensify this story tenfold more now than we have been between Seth Rollins and CM Punk? Now that we have Becky Lynch involved, are we going to see the likes of AJ Lee to back up her man, ultimately, CM Punk, to take on Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins? Is this something that WWE is willing to entertain and actually give the fans? And this is something that AJ Lee is possibly considering. Is this something that she wants to do? Is this something that is willing to bring her back for a one-off? I don't see her coming back having a full run in WWE. I feel as if this might be a one-off for AJ Lee and having a match, with her, CM Punk taking on Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. If that's the case, then I can totally see that. I don't see AJ Lee coming back into the fold of WWE and going on some, elaborate title run. I'm not saying that. But right now, there's no suitable option to have someone team with CM Punk besides AJ Lee, to be honest with you. And that's where I'm at with this right now, especially with the storyline with Rollins and Punk that has been going on for a while now, pretty much seemingly since Punk has returned back to WWE. how are we going to intensify the storyline? Okay, well, let's bring in AJ Lee. And that's exactly how I would do it. Because at this point, especially now with Becky involved, the writing is on the wall. Okay, this is something we brought Becky in. Becky now is a part of the division. She calls CM Punk the World Heavyweight Championship at Clash in Paris. Okay, now the rebuttal of this would be Punk bringing in AJ Lee to take on Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch at WrestlePalooza. And to be honest with you, man, I think WrestlePalooza is going to be stacked. That September 20th pay-per-view, that bringing back the old ECW pay-per-view, WrestlePalooza taking place in Indianapolis, I think it's going to be incredible. I think there's already matches that are kind of scheduled that are going to be taking place. I know we also got, I believe it's going to be Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes for the Universal title, if I'm not mistaken. That match might take place at WrestlePalooza. And they're going head-to-head with AEW that day. You got, on one side of the fence, you got WrestlePalooza. And on the other side of the fence with AEW, you have All Out, taking place at the Scotiabank Arena, I believe, in Toronto. So they're pretty much going head-to-head on the same day for these two pay-per-views, these two PLEs, if you will. So it's going to be very telling from both sides of the fence of how they're going to book these shows, because they're going literally head-to-head. So, and there's also rumors and speculation about a John Cena and Brock Lesnar matchup possibly taking place at WrestlePalooza. I think Lesnar's supposed to make his SmackDown return here, I think September 12th or September 13th. So next week, next Friday. So again, they're going to start slowly building, towards WrestlePalooza. And I think WrestlePalooza is going to be stacked. And it should be. Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people are excited. They're bringing back an old ECW pay-per-view. And we're going to get some good matches. I'm excited. I'm definitely excited. But I think Becky Lynch as a whole, as far as the entire night of Clash in Paris, she was the main vocal point leaving that show for Clash in Paris. Absolutely. Because now everybody is wondering what's next. What's next for Becky? What's next for CM Punk? What's next between Seth Rollins and CM Punk? How are we going to intensify this story? When's this story going to come to an end? I don't think it's going to come to an end anytime soon, folks. And honestly, I'm here for it. I think it's great. I think it's great for Monday Night Raw, especially, Raw and SmackDown as of late hasn't been the greatest pro wrestling shows to watch as of late, but this story here has got a lot of people intrigued. I think Friday Night SmackDown, or even Monday Night Raw leading into, obviously WrestlePalooza is going to be very telling. It's going to be must-see television because everybody's going to want to hear the rebuttal from CM Punk on, how he feels about being pretty much screwed over out of the World Heavyweight title once again due to the fact that Becky Lynch ultimately cost him the World Heavyweight Championship, which we'll most likely hear something from CM Punk on Monday Night Raw. So it's going to be very telling. Obviously the vision is looking not only to take over Monday Night Raw, but take over professional wrestling. And now with the addition of Becky Lynch, even some people are mocking it, saying it's a Death Riders 2.0, which I thought was hilarious. But, we're going to see how it plays out. Absolutely. And, we saw Roman in the matchup with Bronson Reed. A lot of people were, up in arms about that. What's going on with Roman? Is he coming back? From what I understand, we're not going to see Roman Reigns again until around WrestleMania, from what I've heard. It's going to be quite some time before we see Roman Reigns. From what I was heard. I could be wrong on that, but I do know that Roman is scheduled to be taking some time away from WWE, and I think he's scheduled to be a part of a movie. I think the new Street Fighter movie that's coming out, he's going to be playing in that, so he's going to be taking some time off. And this was one way to write him off television so he can film this movie, which hopefully the movie's really good. But he's taking time off for that, so I don't see us seeing Roman Reigns for quite some time, to be honest. And it opens up the door for a lot of other things as far as, who's going to be the top guy while Roman's out, and how our storyline progression is going to, look moving forward. Now with Roman Reigns pretty much not being a part of the division right now because he's taking time off. So the division don't have to, worry about the likes of Roman Reigns, but they have CM Punk and LA Knight and Jey Uso to worry about because the division ultimately has been running roughshod on those three for a while now. So we're going to see how it plays out, man. I think for Clash in Paris as a whole, do I think it was one of the best WWE PLEs? No. Do I think it was the worst? Absolutely not. And like I said before, the main vocal point for me when it pertains to Clash in Paris was Becky Lynch because it got a lot of people's eyebrows raised And a lot of people scratching their chin wondering what the hell is going on here with Becky Lynch and why, out of all this time now, Becky Lynch is getting involved in Seth Rollins' business. So it's going to be very telling to see how Monday Night Raw plays out, and hopefully we'll hear something from CM Punk as far as what happened to him at Clash in Paris. But with that being said, this is my review of WWE's Clash in Paris. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember,